Hey everyone, you may have heard, or maybe not, but there is a class action lawsuit against Berkey Water Filters for basically saying that their independent test results are not accurate because this other company, and I don't know if this is the actual lawsuit or this is one of them. In the video clip that I'm going to play here in a second, he talks about a court case out of California, which was moved to Texas, and this is New York. So I don't know exactly what's going on with all this stuff. But in this, it says breach of contract, fraud on the inducement against New Millennium Concepts, which is Berkey Water Filters. And what they're saying basically, and first off, I have no dog in this fight. I am not a reseller. I'm not an affiliate. I don't own a Berkey myself. I'm not for, against, or whatever. I've got a few different clips I'm going to play that kind of take all three sides of this argument and then let you decide for yourself. This is something that is in court, so I'm pretty hesitant to jump on the hate for Berkey bandwagon, but it is something that is concerning and should be thought about if you do have a Berkey or if you're looking at getting a Berkey in the future. Now, I do want to say before I play this clip here that there is a difference when you're talking about a constantly being used water filter and an emergency preparedness water filter. We're trying to get different things out. It's not necessarily some sort of long-term situation we're thinking about. It's an emergency, get the bad stuff out so I don't off myself in the next couple of weeks type thing. So with that, just keep that in mind. Now, with this lawsuit, this was brought to my attention by, I did a video a couple weeks back about picking or different types of water filters that are popular in preparedness. And when it comes to water filters, Berkey is sort of the holy grail. You hear about a lot. There's a lot of good things said about it. It's just that thing that one of those go-to prepper tools, I suppose. But I got a comment on that video, and he talked about me not mentioning the lawsuit. And that's because I didn't even know there was a lawsuit. So what I've done is gone down the rabbit hole on all this filtering stuff to try to find out what's going on. And, unfortunately, there isn't a whole lot of information out there yet because it hasn't gone to court yet. But I did run across this video of somebody that's pretty pissed off about the things that the title of the video, I think, is Betrayed by Berkey. So I wanted to play that, get his thoughts. I also ran across a video from LDS Prepper, and they are a retailer of Berkey filters, and he takes a different stance. And then I've got one of a lady that owns a Berkey, and she did independent tests. She actually sent her water out to a lab and had it tested. So I've got kind of all three of the three sides of the argument here. Let me play this first clip real quick. This guy is pretty pissed off about Berkey, and this video is one that a lot of people are seeing because it's sort of viral, I suppose. There's not a lot of information on this, and this is the one. And granted, I'm not saying that this guy's wrong. He did a lot of research on all of this stuff, but he definitely has, he's approaching this like a prosecutor would, I suppose. But I've got the link in the description below to his video. He goes into I've only got about a 3-minute clip of his video, but goes into a lot more detail, and then you can make up your mind.
I found court documents for 2 cases. One was in California. They filed their first document September of last year in 2021, and then they moved it to Texas for some reason, so it's being heard in Texas. And just on August 31st, they had a hearing, or at least a part of the ongoing proceedings, where they were arguing about whether or not to dismiss the case because Berkey wants them to dismiss it. Of course they do. It's a class action lawsuit. It involves all of us who've ever purchased Berkey, and their claims are, like their whole case, the plaintiff's case is built upon what I concluded. They tested a Crown Berkey system. That's just the generic stainless steel that all these different filter companies use. There's nothing unique about it. And they put the Berkey black elements in there, which pretty much there's nothing unique about that either. It's just activated carbon block. And they sent it to a IAPA PMO accredited lab that tests to the NSF standards. This is legit now. They really test it. And they tested several contaminants. So they took a box, the Crown Berkey box, which comes with the stainless steel, and it came with the 2 black filter elements. They slapped them in there, they did the test, and they looked at chloramine, and for 100 gallons per filter, at 100 gallons, it only had a 56.3 reduction in chloramine. That is way less than what they advertise. For chloroform, at 100 gallons per filter, when they got to 100 gallons, it was only a 64.4% reduction. Again, way below the advertised percentage, much less the advertised life cycle, which is 3,000 gallons. I'm angry, and I'm angry not just with Berkey. I'm beginning to become angry with Jamie Young and his lab that was called Envirotech, and now it's called Quality something or other in New Jersey. I am not going to say anything in this video to jump to any quick conclusions, but I feel substantiated in at least giving you these numbers. So I compared Young's 2016 test on Berkey's knowledge base website for chloramine and what he found at 200 gallons for 1 filter. The for real lab only tested to 100 before they just gave up. It was so bad. And it was between a 44 and 49% discrepancy between Young's results and this lab's. Hexavalent chromium at high pH, it was a 98.8% discrepancy. Doesn't that make you angry? Like, how could Young not be negligent, stupid, or lying?
All right, so a couple things with this. Like I said, I'm not saying this guy's wrong. He's done a lot of research, but there's a lot of conjecture in there when he's talking about this stuff that, you know, is not going to get proven by somebody on YouTube. It needs to go through the courts to figure it out. He talked about in here how they pulled it out of the box. So they got a Berkey and they took the filter straight out of the box. So it was shipped just like that. I'm not sure about that because, again, it needs to come out in court that that's exactly what happened. That's what he's saying what happened. I'm not sure that he's wrong, but I just don't know for sure. It's possible, like this video I'm going to play from LDS Prepper, a little bit of it. And again, all of these links are in the description below, but it's possible that maybe they got some Chinese knockoff filter. You know, they bought the Berkeys themselves, and then they bought a bunch of other filters that weren't exclusively from Berkey. Maybe they got those, and those were what got tested, sent and tested, and that's why the discrepancy was there. I don't know. It is concerning, however, that as I was doing the research for all of this stuff, it's not just a Berkey problem. It is not just Berkey that is doing this, the NSA or NSF standards, like he was talking about. It's not just Berkey. There's a lot of companies that do the same thing with this. It's just that Berkey right now is in the crosshairs. That's what it is. So at any rate, I wanted to play a little bit of this, about a minute of this LDS Prepper video, and he goes into a lot of detail. What he does is goes through a lot of detail that I don't have in this clip. He goes through a lot of detail about what Berkey has on their websites as far as lab testing. And Berkey's got a lot of information about all this stuff. But as you listen to that first video, if you don't trust Jamie Young and in the Envirotech lab, then how much credibility do you give all that information that's on the website? And again, that's something that would come out in court. Also, Envirotech, it's not just, they're not exclusive to Berkey. They do a lot of other filters as well. So, like I said, it's not just Berkey. Let me go and play this real quick, though.
Hello, this is David Gilmore, known as LDS Prepper, and I'm here to tell you the truth, not these half lies and full straight out lies that you're hearing on the internet. There's been a gentleman on the internet who's voicing his opinion. That's perfectly fine, but he's completely uneducated. Sounds like a nice guy. I'm not going to be calling him names and doing personal attacks like he has been doing. I'm just going to give you the facts. He's been saying all kinds of things, and that there's lawsuits with Berkey. and that Berkey's bought filters from non-tested NSF manufacturers. That is a bold-faced lie right there. Berkey has not purchased any filters from any manufacturer that Berkey doesn't manufacture.
All right. So again, I have no doubt that this guy's completely honest, but he is a reseller for Berkey, so he does have a dog in this fight. Not saying that that's why he's saying this stuff. He goes through a lot of detail in his video that I didn't have here about why. A lot of it is information straight from Berkey's website. He talks about some supplier that tried to get him to order a bunch of filters from him because they are Berkey certified filters. And then that way he can get on Amazon and show the invoice that he's got certified filters and sell them on Amazon as certified filters, and they Chinese made or whatever. So that is the concern, is that there are black filters out there that if this lab did this test and they tested the lower quality filters, that should be a concern to everybody, that, you know, those lower quality ones don't work as well. But again, we've got to wait until this all comes out in court. So it's all just, I guess my whole point with this is that right now we just don't know. So I think if you have a Berkey, I'm going to go through why I probably won't at the end of this video get a Berkey in the future, but not everything has to do with this exact lawsuit. But if you have one, I think you're fine. If you're looking at getting one and that fits your needs, I think you would probably be okay as well, because like I said, this isn't just a Berkey thing. This is Alexa Pure, which I believe, and don't quote me on this, but I believe they were tested with Envirotech as well. A lot of different companies. As far as the NSF testing, let me pull this website up right here. The main ones that concern us as preppers are 42, 53, and 401. And a lot of people these days don't go through the NSF testing because it is cost prohibitive. I believe I read something where it said that it would cost Berkey over $1 million a year just to test their systems. This is why a lot of people, a lot of these companies don't go through the NSF system. But they go through independent labs that are tested to NSF standards. But 42, 53, and 401 here are, I think, the ones that matter to preppers. There's a lot of different ones, so when they say they're NSF tested, it really matters which one they're tested for. But the 42 is chlorine, taste, and odor, chloramine, particulates, iron, manganese, zinc, total dissolved solids. 53 here, I think, is an important one as far as preppers are concerned. Covers 50 contaminant reduction claims. Some of the most popular include lead, cryptosporidium, volatile organic compounds, and chromium. And then the one that you don't hear about a lot is 401, emerging compounds. This is the standard that offers 15 specific contaminant reduction claims. Some of the most popular categories include prescription drugs, over-the-counter medications, herbicides, pesticides, and chemical compounds. I think that one's important because when you're talking about some sort of disaster situation, you may be thinking about those types of things that can be in the water. If you're getting water from a source you're not sure about, that may be an issue. So that is the NSF when you hear that all the time with all of this stuff going on. And there's a lot of people complaining. I've seen doomsday forums and prepper forums and all of that really complain about how they're not NSF certified. And honestly, they say it's because of proprietary stuff. And then there's also the cost prohibitive aspect of it. But it is a little bit concerning that they haven't. They've grown into a big enough company that they could. So why haven't they? That is a question mark that maybe gets answered in this lawsuit. But with that, I wanted to take an individual person. I looked for videos about individual people that use them, and it's really tough because they've got such a good reputation that there are just a lot of people out there just touting Berkey. Here in the preparedness community, I'm probably one of them. In the preparedness community, we've just heard so many good things about Berkey that we all just go that route. And, you know, like I said, I am one of them. I said in that water filter video I did that it's the gold standard. Everybody should have one and all this stuff. And after reading and hearing about this stuff, just not so sure anymore. But this lady actually did a test. She tested her well water, her faucet water, and her Berkey after that. And again, she goes into a lot more detail about this stuff right here than the clip that I have. It's about 2 minutes long, but it shows that what she's got actually worked. Now, did she pull these filters straight out of the box, never been used, or how long? I mean, there's a lot of information that isn't in there, but still, it does show that there is some effect. Now, you're talking about different chemicals and all that stuff, and that's where you kind of get into the weeds with all this. But as preppers, we're worried about that disaster preparedness stuff. There's not as many as some of these are listed. So let me play this real quick.
Hello, it's Cami here from the blog Tidbits at tidbits-cami.com. All right, you've heard me sing my praises for my Berkey water filter, but after receiving some opinionated comments about the Berkey on my videos, I decided I just needed to know. So I have sent 3 samples out to an independent laboratory to test my water. First, directly from the wellhead. Second, after I'd been through our whole house water filtration system and into the kitchen faucet. And lastly, through the Berkey water filter. Now, I am going to be completely transparent and share the process and my results, and finally what I think about the Berkey after seeing it all. What happens to my water once it runs through the Berkey filters? Let's take a look. The overall score went to an 87 out of 99, which is much higher than the sink and wellhead. Lithium went from 0.03 to 0.01. Fluoride is about the same because I don't have fluoride filters on my Berkey because, well, we have well water and fluoride isn't added. The hardness went down still a little bit, even more from the kitchen sink, from 0.6 to 0.3. Magnesium from 0.09 to 0.03. Sodium just slightly lower, so it doesn't seem that the Berkey filters out much sodium. So it's just good to know what the Berkey is capable of. It was interesting to note that copper, iron, zinc, and other metals that were detected in the well and the kitchen faucet, even though they appear to be perfectly healthy levels, it was not detected in the Berkey water. Do we need a little bit of those in our water? Something we should all learn, but does the Berkey successfully filter metals out? It appears so from my results.
All right, so the reason I wanted to play all 3 of those videos is because it gives all 3 sides of the story. But we still, there's no definitive one way or the other with this stuff that I've been able to figure out, and I've done a lot of research on this. I think we just have to wait, see what happens in this lawsuit. For the price that Berkey's, for what they cost, I think it's incredibly concerning if they are using these low-cost knockoff filters and advertising them as, their black filters. I think that's really concerning because of how much they cost. They're 4 or 5 times more expensive than these other knockoffs, and if they're putting them in there, that is fraud. Now, would it surprise me? Not one bit, because that's the way a lot of companies do things these days, trying to get the lower cost products. So maybe Berkey at one point, 5-10 years ago, or 5 years ago, did this exactly like they've stated, and then recently decided because they needed to cut costs or, whatever the reason, maybe that is the case. I just don't know, and I'm not going to say one way or the other whether they do or not. That is one of the factors of me probably steering away from getting a Berkey water filter. A couple of the other ones are just aesthetics. Basically, the Berkey system is pretty large, and you got to stick it on your countertop. You have to have room for it. There are cheaper alternatives. You got the 5-gallon bucket method, where you can put the black filters in there as long as they are what they're stated to be. You could do that. But there's also issues, as I've been researching this stuff, talking about how there's a film that builds up around the filters, and it kind of a slime and algae or something. It gives the water a musty taste. Even after some people have cleaned these out, it still has that musty taste. For something this expensive, it just seems like a whole lot of work to maintain that. Now, in an emergency preparedness situation, something that you're going to stick away, maybe it's not a huge concern. One last thing before I get out of here, and if you guys have any information on this stuff that I don't in this video, or something that I forgot to mention, leave a comment below, and make sure and leave a link. Don't just tell me I'm wrong. Show me where or how I'm wrong, because like I said, there's a lot to this story, and I don't even have all the facts as of now, and I don't think anyone will until this lawsuit is settled. But like I said in the beginning, you know, if you've got a Berkey, I don't know that I'd worry too much about it. If you are using it for disaster preparedness, like I was just talking about, maybe it's something you put aside. They do have different versions of Berkeys, smaller travel Berkeys and stuff like that you could use as well. The reason that this is such a big deal with this Big Berkey and not so much for like Sawyer and Life Straw and all those is because it's an in-home filtration system. That's why you can't get them in California also. You can get all the other Berkey products in California, just not this one, because it's classified as an in-home filtration system, which means they need to be NSF certified to be sold in California. So at any rate, I mean, I just don't, honestly, I think we have to wait and figure out what is going on with Berkey. My main thing is the water filters. You know, that is the big deal to me, that I probably wouldn't buy them right now until this gets all figured out, until it comes out that either, yes, they were using cheaper water filters, or no, they weren't, that this company that tested them individually got a batch that weren't Berkey authorized, or Berkey directly from Berkey. So we just don't know, and I'm not going to throw stones yet until we figure it out. But it does make me want to hit the pause button. If I were in the market for one of these, it would make me want to hit the pause button, definitely. And then we'll see how this all this turns out. The good thing about all this is I've been doing so much research on the NFS standards and all these different things that I have found a couple other filters and things that I would probably use. This article, let me see if I can find it here. This article from Wirecutter, and Wirecutter does some really good research on all of these different water filters. But again, it is something that let me pull this article up real quick. It is something that is different for the daily use type water filters and emergency preparedness disaster stuff. But they go through quite a few of these, and they go through in this article too about their standards, how they test, and what they do. And they do rigorous testing. So it's not just some fly-by-night website that does this stuff. So at any rate, like I said, I'd love to get your guys' thoughts on it. If you have any additional information that would be helpful to me or anybody watching this or watching this in the future, make sure and leave it below. Try to post a link and everything, you know, not just an opinion. You can post those if you want to, but the more information I can get about all this stuff, and the more information everybody can get about all this stuff, the better. I know a lot of people in the preparedness community are pretty upset about this. I know the guy that I played the video, the first video of, pretty upset about this, but I just don't know at this point. One thing with the video I played, the very first video I played, he did a lot of research, and he put it all in the description of his video, so you can go down that rabbit hole. It's kind of confusing a little bit because he takes notes like I do, or it's basically for myself, and it's kind of hard to understand from the outside looking in. But he does have a lot of information there. So at any rate, that's it for today, everyone. If you have any comments, questions, anything like that, leave them below, and we will talk to y'all later.